Hello, welcome to Mining Now. Today we're going to be talking about avoiding work, as in avoiding repetitive tasks and focusing on the important things in your job. And we're going to be doing that through KORE Geosystems, who is revolutionizing the core shack. So it's going to be some fun stuff to cover today. We're filming this episode live from MIMO in Sudbury, brought to you by CIM. We're going to have Davie on. He's the VP of Sales at KORE Geosystems. We, of course, want to thank our travel sponsor, Savanna Equipment, for helping us get all over the world, actually. Our next event is going to be in IMARC in Sydney, Australia, November 2nd to 4th. But, of course, right now we are focused on MIMO. Jamie, welcome to the show. Great to have you on.
Thanks. Great to be here. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, no, it's going to be lots of fun. It's an interesting company, so we've got plenty to cover. Can you give us that initial snapshot? I'm sure you'll be explaining it to a few people at an event, so I guess you get to practice on me. What's sort of the overview of who KORE is?
So KORE actually started from one of our sister companies, DGI. The group of individuals has been in the industry for 20 years. They've got combined experience in the mining industry, upwards of 75 years. And as they've been working closely with our mining clients, KORE came out of the need to really revolutionize the core logging process. We're a data-first company, AI software, and then we have hardware that came through as a result of a requirement for high quality structured imagery. So our goal, we have a lot of geologists on staff. We have a lot of individuals that we work with that have come to us saying there are problems in the industry. And I'll get into those a little later, I suspect. But the idea is we need to make the process better with everything going on in the world, with the future and mines being at the forefront of everyone's really at the conversation. There's a lot that can be done, and organizations approached our team, approached our senior staff, and said, how can we do things differently? And KORE came to the challenge. We actually won a Disrupt Mining Challenge in 2017. Newmont put that on, and they're a big investor of ours.
Yeah.
And the idea is we've kind of launched from there. It's been 5 years, give or take, and a lot has happened in those 5 years. And we've decided to really take this concept, which I'll get into, and expand it out worldwide. We are there today. 5 of the top 10 mining organizations in the world have adopted our technology.
Wow. Well, congratulations. I'd like to go back to that contest. So was that a contest to gain investment along? Was there some sort of prize? What was the process of that?
It's going back a little bit before my time, but really the idea was who is disrupting the industry? What technology will make a change, a real valuable change to the mining industry? Now, we only touch one part of it, but our little part, we proved without a reasonable doubt that we can provide value to the geologists and the associated roles there in delivering data, delivering better data. So it was if I'm not mistaken, $1 million challenge, and it turned into kind of the seedling for what we are now. Since then, we've been ventured private equity backed capital investment backed organization, and we're just growing from there.
It's just amazing how the mining industry, just in the last this is the last several years, has turned into an industry that all these new companies can actually make their way into, because so often it used to be internal development. And now with mining operators looking externally, companies like yours can actually be innovative in the market. It's not all sort of this sort of internal sort of development that is obviously a lot slower than the way that you're doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, sorry. Go ahead. I realized I didn't really ask a question. I just did a statement. So, but yeah, I mean, you must be seeing that in a huge way in your industry.
We do. So myself, I'm relatively new to the industry. I've been in IT and software my entire life with really disruptive technology. And when I came into this industry, it's funny. There's a lot of organizations that are mines have been around for a while. You're not going to make major changes overnight. But what I've seen, especially at these shows, a lot of these organizations are, because some of it's by design, they're having a hard time getting the proper labor force on staff, so they have to look externally. In our particular world, outsourced core logging is becoming a bigger and bigger process that they're going through, an opportunity for like drillers coming in and helping these organizations. We've seen technologies that, again, nothing to do with core, the drone technology that's coming out that's helping the equipment, making something as simple as the dump trucks run smoother, faster, better. EV vehicles in the mining industry, everything is shifting. And with the conversations that we get into involve more groups. So I made a comment earlier about geologists really benefiting from this software. Well, when I look at the value statements, health and safety is a big part. So now we're working with the health and safety crew, the 3D modeling teams, and everyone has to come together. And whether it's now or 5 years from now, the conversation is how are we going to improve? And now we have a resource team that has to come together that's above an individual mine to help guide them. So we see it in every organization. I see it in the news. I see it in talking to them directly.
At Corporate Traveler, their seamless combination of expert service and innovative booking tech means you have what you need when you need it. Mining companies need experienced agents who know how to get you to far-to-reach destinations with ease, who understand rotational crew travel, chartering, and so much more. And with an average tenure of 8 years, their agents are the best in the biz and are experts at managing all your mining travel needs. Have an emergency? They've got your back 24/7, anywhere, on any device. Don't get stuck with complicated and rigid travel options. Get it done with Corporate Traveler. Visit them at corptraveler.com. Founded in 1989 in South Africa, the Bloemburton Engineering Group is a world leader in ventilation, refrigeration, and cooling systems for underground mines. BBE Consulting Canada, created in Greater Sudbury, Ontario, is part of the BBE Group of companies since 2016. Its services include mine ventilation and cooling system modeling, feasibility studies, detailed engineering, procurement and construction management, as well as site ventilation surveys, ventilation audits, and training mentoring for underground mines across all Americas. You can reach out to BBE Consulting Canada by visiting bbegroup.ca or writing to enquiries@bbegroup.ca. Also, watch out for BBE's upcoming episode on mining now. In business since 1960, DyeCorp is a leading private manufacturer and distributor of specialty chemicals, equipment, parts, and accessories, serving the energy and mining industries. DyeCorp manufactures and distributes a full line of drillers' edge coring rods, core retrieval systems, and diamond tooling for diamond core drilling worldwide. They also manufacture and sell high-quality Earth Pro drilling fluids and additives for the mineral exploration and energy industries. For more, you can visit them at dye-corp.com or contact their head office at 780-440-4923. Okay, so let's give a special thank you to one of our longest sponsors of the show, Savanna Equipment. And I'm actually going to hand it over to Jared so that he can give you a little bit more info on Savanna Equipment.
Yeah, thank you. So I mean, people see them as sponsors, so they'll ask me, kind of who they are, what they are, and just trying to understand the scope of the company. So Savanna Equipment is a mining supply company, and they're delivering on the whole equipment supply chain. So everything from the ore processing to underground mining, open pit, they're in hard rock and placer operations. And what they're doing is they're sourcing equipment from all over the world and then delivering it all over the world. Now, they are a Canadian company, so they're based there, but, let's say, they're selling entire ore processing plants. So there might be a plant down in Latin America, and there's a new mine that needs that plant in Africa or somewhere in the US, so they're facilitating that entire transactions. But they're also delivering, an individual conveyor or a concentrator or a pump package or just an electrical package. So it really is the whole gambit of the mining equipment supply chain. I want to get into the technology itself that you've released into the market, but I've realized with doing some of these shows that sometimes you talk about the new technology before you talk about the old way. The audience has a tough time sort of connecting it. So can you talk about core logging in its I don't know how original we're going to get because it's probably been around a long time, but maybe the 20-year original version of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, from my experience and learning what I have learned jumping into the industry, it is has been a very manual process. It's funny because we are both, well, we're worldwide. I'll focus strictly on North America and Australia. So in North America, the mining operations that we have, and in South America, there's a lot of manual effort involved. Yeah, core comes in on core trays, and it gets lifted from location to location, from station to station over the last couple of, well, I guess I'll call it last 2 decades, with camera technology going through what it has gone through, imagery to help catalog the core samples as they come in has changed. But in a lot of cases, and my boss Vince came in, our CEO, just did a 2-week tour of sites in Australia, and as advanced as they are, there are still some organizations that have a tent with a DSLR, perched at the top of just pointing straight down. And that's a huge advancement in some of the technology. Now, there are other technologies out there, imagery and geochem solutions that will take it and be like, right on the drill. But the idea is you're capturing the core log, you're capturing all the data. And what's happened is, especially in Australia, what we found is the goal, and I talk about health and safety, the goal, how do I go from lifting these fairly heavy core trays full of rock and to moving it from start to finish with one arm? And it sounds kind of funny, but it's gone from a very manual effort to most organizations. Again, we're working with a lot of them, the BHP, the Vales, Teck, Kinross, Glencore's. They all have similar philosophies. It's employees first. And if you can avoid repetitive injury, repetitive strain problems, back injuries, that's really helped focus on where some of these processes can go. If they're not there, how do we get there? And again, we're just one small part of it, but the core logging process has gone through that major change, and they're still going through change. Organizations are looking for help. We're looking for help in helping our clients really optimize that entire process. One other item again, just the last point on that, over the last couple of years, things have changed in the world, and the idea of having readily available resources that want to travel and go to site is not exactly the be all and end all. So now, how do you allow them to work remotely and still be able to do their job properly? That's a very large concern. Again, it has health and safety, but also just that's the way of the world these days.
Yeah, I mean, it's anytime you can eliminate. I mean, now when I have to do a trip, I mean, we've got people there. Rory's there today at MIMO, but it's just such a different. Once you get used to a system, and you realize, wow, if I got to drive to the airport, I'm losing 2 hours of time. But before I even, that's if the travel goes well, just to get to the airport, So can you talk a little? I want to talk about. How do I want to approach this? Okay, can we outline the Specter solution? Because I want to outline that, what it is, and then I want to sort of go back. I know it has an AI component, so I want to sort of loop back into that to sort of how that problem has changed. The problem you're solving has sort of evolved over the last couple of years. So I want to just outline what Specter is, and then go back to that, sort of the AI component, and unpack it a little bit more.
Okay. So the 30 seconds on Specter, there are 3 major components with a services piece. So Specter Optics is the hardware. It is high volume, high resolution imagery platform. Essentially, you start with structured data. You have to have high quality images. You don't have to have an optics unit. We've seen great solutions out there that will take high quality imagery. Now, in a lot of cases, it's not as fast as our optics unit, and that is critical in helping speed things along. But there's the hardware component. There's the software. We call it Specter Geo, and that is the window into the data, and it allows for remote core logging. So once the images are obtained, whether it's through optics or other means, it gets imported and digested and ingested into our cloud, and Geo is the window into that, whether it's just for viewing or logging. That's it. And then there's the AI component. So when you have all this imagery, now what do you do? So one of the, if you have different models that will run, capturing RQD, depth referencing, lithology, veining. There's so many things that can happen both today and then 5 years from now, or wherever this technology is going to take us. But so those are the three major pieces: the hardware, the geo software, and then the AI, which is really the brains behind all that.
So could I get a sense at a large scale mine on the hardware side? Let's walk through them both. On the hardware side, how much? And I'm not. I'm not I'm not equipped to maybe even ask some of the best questions on this, so I'll have to trust you to walk me through. On that side, how much on a large scale mine? How many of these units would you need for a standard program, like a large scale mine?
Really, one. This is they're as I mentioned, they're high volume. So now you can have more, and this all depends on. And I'll take us back to what does the workflow look like from conversations that I've had, and just the reality. Our AI it's second to none, but it means nothing if the workflow doesn't accommodate for whatever solution you're going to put in there. So
Yeah.
Specter, obviously, that's why I'm here. If a Specter optics unit is in there and the workflow is organized well, you can streamline the shed and just where all the roller trays are going, how the core is coming through, is it being diverted because it's waste? You can do a lot with one unit. Now, if you're putting through 500,000 meters of core a year, we probably want to have more than one. And another trend that we're seeing is central facilities. So I'm having some conversations with a mining organization out of Mexico, and their goal is they've got, let's call it 5 or 6 different operations on one big mine. How do I have fewer sheds around there? How can I make it better? Now, reality is you got to truck all the rock around, so there are some logistical issues there. But like a goal, how do I get fewer sheds, and how can I maximize my resources? You can still get away with 1, potentially 2 optics units for very high volume.
Okay, so I want to go now into sort of you touched on it obviously, but now the third element is just the geo side, what the software does, how it works for a geologist. Can you sort of unpack that a little bit for us?
Yes, this is where, again, I'll say the word struggle, but it's in a positive way. We struggle with the value because there's so many things that can be done here. Geo is a window into the data. So a geologist or others, and I'll get into what those others are because that's an important piece. It provides them access to that structured data. It can be to view it, and it's very high resolution, high quality imagery. You can zoom right into the rock. You can do your remote core logging. So a senior geologist or a junior geologist, anyone, can go right in and actually use the software using pin drops and other technology we have built in. They can look at the core sample, look at the results from the AI, or if AI is not a part of it, because again, we can uncouple these pieces, do manual core logging. So say an organization has a geologist that just wants to do initial logging or doesn't quite trust the data. They could be anywhere in the world, access to through the geo, and that's a key thing. Anywhere in the world, do what they need to do. Their skill set is applied through the software onto that particular core sample. The AI allows them to focus on just the components that they really need to focus in on, and they can do it anywhere. We have remote geologists. I actually have one of our local Sudbury mining operations using our system, and one of the geologists is out of Toronto doing core logging using the geo software.
Well, I guess going back to the thing you said about working with operators in Mexico. So if you have all of a sudden they might need, let's say just location wise, they do need a couple units. So they need a couple of them, but what it leads to as well is if their chief geologist can be anywhere in the world overseeing this data now in a way that just in a whole, it's a whole other level from what the industry is used to.
Yeah, that actually just reminded me of a particular point. So thank you for that. The unit on site can be run by any type of individual. Usually technicians will run the unit. They will do initial scanning. So this is where that whole idea of remote logging and having a central geological team that has all of the skills that you need that come with a very big price tag because they're worth every penny when they get their hands on this stuff. But you don't have to have them on site every single day.
Right.
You can have individuals scan the core, have it, they don't get rid of the core. It's still, there's lots of things you can do with the workflow where the core doesn't disappear, but it gets scanned. The AI can or doesn't have to run against it. Geologists halfway around the world get to see this.
Right.
So that's the value. You don't send them the site. There's no delays in data. And that's another thing. I remember when I first came on, I met some of our investment team, and one of the individuals said, just kind of off the cuff, how do these people figure out where to drill next? They wait 3-4 months for some of the geochem data, which is still extremely valuable. We actually don't replace that. We ingest it. Still need that. But what if I need to make a decision quicker? Well, a geologist that's halfway around the world could say, hey guys, I just saw the scans that came in 10 minutes ago. We might want to double down, get a geologist team over here. Let's analyze those results. I'll call it the old-fashioned way, because that does not disappear with our model, but they can get that information faster. They can make decisions faster. Yeah. So that's what the geo really allows them to do. And again, local team, maybe local resources using the machine, and then the geologists kind of do what they do, and they don't have to be on site all of the time.
Yeah, so I mean, you've kind of clarified. I just want to kind of double check. So you don't have to be a geologist doesn't have to be on site. They need to be someone who can run the machine, and then the geologist. Or do you need at least some sort of geologist on site?
That actually brings up a good point. I want to provide a point of clarification. Geologists always have to be part of the process. This will never replace them. They are critical in taking that next step. Like, I'll use the term lick the rock. I've heard that. It's funny. I said that to a few geologists because I was told, and they're like, yeah, in some cases that will never go away. So geologists should be on site, but they don't have to be on site doing all of the same things. So for instance, getting our QD, the AI should do that. You don't need a geologist measuring every 10 centimeters doing this. Get the AI to do it and have the geologist pick up on, do the QA, because humans still need to be part of this. Do that QA and focus on the pieces that come up, like, oh man, we got to spend time on this. That's what, and if they have to be on site, so be it. We divert things they shouldn't be doing. So a good example is a waste diversion. Oh, there's a feedback in the background. I don't know if that was picked up. The waste diversion, where a geologist shouldn't be logging core that is considered waste. They should be QAing it before they destroy it. But a geologist shouldn't be doing that. They need to spend their time on, we have a mine that we get 70% waste diversion. 30% of it, a geologist has to touch and feel it, but only that 30%. The other 70 does not need to be spent. They don't have to have all their time spent on that. Huge cost savings, but also they get to focus. There's not enough geologists out there. I'll be honest, if geologists were a dime a dozen, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. They are scarce resources. There's a shortage, and we have to empower the ones that we have. That's what employers are looking at.
And then, no matter the industry, and even if there is a lot of them, it's like a real estate. There's lots of real estate agents, but good ones are not always as easy to find.
Yeah, you don't want those good ones leaving you if you can give them the opportunity to work on multiple mines too, from their home when. More often than not, that's a huge value add from their perspective. Yeah. And you don't have to drive them in every day. That's another thing. A couple of mine in Nevada, this is anywhere, but if it's an hour and a half to 2 hours to truck individuals in, man, that's a health and safety hazard. Yeah, I was told that. It's not me saying it. I was told that.
No, I mean, it's what you're saying. It's sort of self-evident in when you outline the technology and how it all sort of integrates in. I was curious about the AI. Have you ever? And because I'm not a developer either, so it's hard for me to sort of understand. Like when you say Specter AI, how do you sort of measure its effectiveness? Do you put what it is getting as results against a geologist, and then you sort of see how closely aligned up? How do you get the technology to a place? Because you're talking about uncoupling it. So I was wondering, can you just run it simultaneously so that they can sort of compare and go, okay, are we close? Did the geologist miss something? Does the AI need to be adjusted? I'm just wondering sort of how that relationship is brought together.
Yep. That's a good question, because we get, I'll say, challenged on that a lot for good reason. So AI is great. There will be a lot more development across the board, like not just our little world, but around the world in every industry. AI always needs a human to train it. So it isn't perfect yet, but in certain cases, AI builds upon each other. So we have I'll classify it as two kind of models.
It's Canada's premier event for mining, metals, and materials professionals. The Canadian Institute of Mining, Metallurgy, and Petroleum will be hosting its annual convention and expo in May in the beautiful city of Montreal. The technical program will feature expertise from a wide range of leaders across industry sectors. Are you working on a project that others in the industry need to know about? Well, let them know. CIM is now seeking presentations on a variety of topics. You can visit them at convention.cim.org to learn more. HF Sinclair, which includes the Petro-Canada Lubricants brand, is a proud sponsor of Mining Now. Petro-Canada Lubricants products and services are proven to maximize equipment performance, productivity, and overall savings. From heavy-duty engine oils to hydraulic fluids, ATF's gear oils and greases, Petro-Canada Lubricants is committed to delivering innovative solutions that deliver value and keep businesses moving. They have dedicated technical expertise, knowledge, and know-how to help customers in the mining industry operate smoothly with improved equipment, reliability, and performance. Learn more at lubricants.petro-canada.com or contact them at 1-866-335-3369 to arrange a call with one of their technical experts. PowerZone carries a massive inventory of pumps, engines, generators, and compressors. However, they don't stop there. They combine imagination with world-class engineering. They detail the entire process to every customer. Their pump package testing facility ensures your equipment is landing on-site, ready to work. That is PowerZone. Start with inventory, develop with imagination, deliver with integrity, and it's all at powerzone.com. That is PowerZone.
So we have two, I'll classify as two kind of models. One is a global model. So RQD is less mine specific. The AI is fairly accurate out of the box. And we measure its accuracy by someone actually looking at the real rock and then what the AI has said. And then as the model will train itself over time. So there's a human there. And that's why what I was stressing earlier, geologists don't go away. They actually will do the QC, and they're doing 1/10 of the time logging because the AI is 95% accurate. And in a lot of cases, it's actually higher, especially when we ingest geochem data. But then you take it to some more mine-specific models, so lithology, where you really have to train based on the characteristics and the environment that we're working in. But it's you go through a training exercise with a couple of holes, 10 holes, 20 holes, and then it just keeps on improving and improving. And the human is always there, especially with all the regulations in place. You have to have a check and balance there. You have to have QA. It goes through there. We make it easier and faster. The AI for certain things out of the box can be upwards of 95% accurate. For other things, it will take a little bit of training. But again, it's just time invested that you're going to do anyways. Why not invest that time into a technology that's going to help you speed things up? And then over time, and the time could be 3 weeks, could be 3 months. There's no set time. It depends on the environment. But the idea is use that to better the technology. And our team generally does that. Then we would hand it over to the organization that we're working with.
When you are people, is the industry? I mean, you said you're working with some of the biggest mines in the world. So, smaller operators, are they getting the technology pretty quick? In your position, VP of Sales, right? Is that those conversations pretty receptive? Is it is it a long process to sort of get people to understand what you're doing, or does a conversation like we're having, 25, 30 minutes, does it sort of outline and people sort of get it? And with the case studies to back it up and everything like that?
Well, it's funny. Everyone gets it. This is a really, I'll say, progressive industry. There is a lot of technology, and there's a lot of individuals where they may not quite understand what we're doing. They understand their own predicament, what their environment is like, and they're always curious. I haven't met a single individual who's not curious about really any of the technology that's to my left and right here. So it's very interesting. It's an industry that I like for that reason. Now, the big question is, do we fit at every organization? And that's what everyone in this industry should be asking in any industry. We look for fit because there are organizations that have certain aspects to them where we do fit perfectly. And then it's a matter of going through the approvals process and understanding the workflow and getting the appropriate checks from the governing bodies that are in the organizations. Because again, you don't just throw in an AI technology and the shareholders will go, okay, yeah, that's all good. No, you got to go through a process.
Right.
So that's probably the biggest hurdle, is fitting into the workflow.
Right.
And I don't think that came out in what I just said properly. So I will rephrase it in that it is fitting into their workflow. Everyone the ultimate goal is, hey, if I can move a core tray through the shed from all the way through from the pallet lifter to cutting to waste with one arm, who doesn't want that? I have yet to say someone say, no, I don't want that. I want everyone to lift it, and I want to take 10 years to sample 10,000 meters. No, everyone's looking for a solution. It just has to be the right fit, the right time. Every mine's on its own schedule. And there are certain technologies, like there are certain scenarios, I don't get into them all, but there are certain scenarios where we will fit better or worse than, say, one of our competitors. And it's a very friendly atmosphere in that sense, because, we know where we fit. We're not going to push buttons and force things down people's throat. That just does not happen in this industry. It's got to be a good fit, got to fit in the workflow. And everyone wants to talk about it.
Right.
Yeah, might take 3 years, might take 2 months, might take 5 years. Everyone wants to talk about it.
Where is the best fit? What setup do you see where you go, oh, this is gonna work well?
Yep. Out of the box, it's someone asked me, what's my target client? Production gold mine doing 50 to 100,000 meters of budgeted core drilling a year. That's off the top. But, take out gold, put in really anything. Anyone that's doing high volume is going to benefit from this solution. Anyone that has a central core shed where maybe there are 3 or 4 friendly mines, ideally from the same organization, all physically close to each other, that have a central processing facility where the volumes are there, is a great fit, because we can do high volume. Now, that's talking about us having optics in place. There is another option that is becoming more and more valuable for organizations. We're taking pictures of core samples is not new. It's been around for a while. Everyone has structured, sometimes unstructured, but structured imagery. If an organization has thousands of photos that they need to be made available through a window like Specter Geo and have access, and then potentially do AI models down the road, that is another great fit, because what we're finding is organizations didn't realize or didn't know that they could have the RQD data to help with supporting mine shafts or whatever. The mining engineers need this data, or the 3D modelers need this data. All of this structured data is sitting in a database, usually somewhere else. That is another perfect fit for us, where we ingest that by the thousands of meters, and now they suddenly have all this information at their fingertips and could even relog it all through the AI if they didn't do it the first time, which most of them have.
These are images that have already been taken, you're saying, right?
Yes, there's databases of imagery out there, Acquire being one, just off the top of my head. And there's value, there's valuable data in that imagery that you just physically can't get to right now. We just talked to one mine, they have 1.4 million meters of core that they want to talk about. I'm like, you can't have a person go through that. It's physically impossible.
Yeah,
you can't have 10 people go through it.
Right.
So we can ingest that.
And going back to getting the right people, the people you want going through it as well. It's got to be someone that can actually pull the data how you need it to be as well.
Yeah. Like they have a 3D modeling team that they don't have access to this data. Well, now they could. Yeah. So there's a fit. And it doesn't have to be 1.4 million. It could be 10,000 meters of core, but there's another fit. And it's untapped potential for executives to make different and better decisions.
Going into your global reach. So what is the setup? So where's the company based, headquarters?
We have 2 headquarters, Melbourne, Australia, and Toronto, Canada.
Oh, okay. And then now, do you have any presence in like South Africa? Like, what's sort of the global reach? And then how do you deliver that reach, and how are you continuing to expand it?
Great question. And we work with a lot of organizations. My history has been working with organizations trying to figure this out. So we work through both direct and through implementation partners. So we have an implementation partner in Australia today. We're working with one in South Africa. Their reach is basically through Africa and India. And then both of them have kind of an overlapping reach in Indonesia and Australia. We're looking at expanding into South America. We have operations down there today, and that's fed through our sister company, DGI, which I'm going to refer to as an implementation partner, just makes it easier. They handle everything in North America. So what we do, core specific to software and building the hardware, we use companies like DGI and our other implementation partners to be feet on the street, so to speak. Actually, no, not so to speak, exactly. So you have to have someone that can build the shed or incorporate it in. And we're also looking at expanding out not only our implementation partner reach, talking to individuals in Europe, Scandinavia specifically, and the idea is who has the talent and the desire to continue to offer outsourced core logging services through their typical business model, using our hardware and software as a supporting mechanism. So we're looking at expanding that, but also just DGI themselves. They have the ability to drop people anywhere in the world where we don't have an implementation partner. Again, we are in South America today. We have the ability to put more individuals down there in North America, really anywhere in the world. So it's going to be a combination of the two. But really the idea is organizations that we can train well, because that's the key thing. There's a training component to this, getting it done, getting it kind of perfect with the AI training model, and having it fit in with the workflow is key. So we want to make sure we can tackle it, but we want to also give an opportunity for implementation partners to do it, as well as the end clients. Sometimes our clients they're pretty smart, so they have the ability to do some of this themselves with the proper guidance.
Right. Yeah, that implementation partner is it's a good word for when you need somebody that they need to be capable. You're not looking for a distributor to go, yeah, we'll market out your product. You need someone that's sort of at that next level that can actually implement the product into their workflow.
It is critical, and that integration into that workflow is the biggest sticking point. I can't stress it enough. If you can't have that conversation, this goes back before I came into the mining industry. Coming in, my history is a little bit about ERP integration and more complex just technologies. And you have to understand start to finish. Right. If you don't understand that, it is no different here. I can't just have a machine and put it in the corner and pretend it's going to work, because people are like, well, what the heck do I do with this? How does it fit in? It's a larger conversation. It's more individuals, and the partner has to be able to understand that. We don't just want someone to drop a box out there unless they're asking us to help support them. And that's perfect. But that's the key thing. The full support model is what we look at.
Just to wrap up the interview, for when people come, I'm sure you'll be getting asked this over the next couple of days at MIMO. People come and they say, what's an example? What's a standout project that you could highlight? What's your answer to that? Is there a project that sort of stands out for you, sort of a flagship or a really good result that you can sort of key in on?
When I look at some success stories worldwide, so we work with a lot of major mining organizations, and I'm not at liberty to talk about specific mines to those specific projects, but we are working with the BHPs, the Tex, Vale, Glencore, Kinross. We've done trials with other organizations as well, and a couple of really pop up. So waste diversion. A geologist shouldn't be spending their time cataloging rock waste. So what happened? We've successfully diverted 70% of waste rock from one specific organization. Wow. And allows that geologist team to focus all of the core logging on the 30% that's valuable. Yeah. So there's a huge time savings. It's a tenfold, 10 times time savings. It's amazing. We get better results, but I just like being, I'd like tempering expectations, because that's pretty good. So one thing that we've done, a lot of organizations come to us, they can't get through the backlog of core. So for us, we can do 1,000, 1,500, even 2,000 meters of core logging a day. Now that's across different shifts. One of our mines with Newmont, it's right on our website. We did upwards of 1,500 a day, and it allows an organization to get through the backlog of core. This actually spans multiple mining operations where they had information and data sitting there on rows and rows and kilometers of core sheds, just full of this rock that you can't get through. we have blasted through that to the point where in a couple of our operations, we caught up. Like there was no backlog of core. And now it's okay, now what? Like there's an answer to the now what, but it's a lot of companies aren't used to that. So we've done that in a couple of cases. One situation, I talk about health and safety. In one of the operations that we're working in, we've been integrated into a workflow where you can take with one arm the core tray from start to finish. And that's hard to quantify in dollars. Like it's not 1,500 images a day. It's not I save time. It's not I've made the geologist 50% more productive. So it's hard to put a number to. It does affect all of that, but it has, we've just saved the backs of how many people. There's no carpal tunnel. There's no issues of lifting the core because they move it through with one arm. The amount of soft savings, and I'm sure there's a hard number to that as well, but that is big on people's minds, and that's a success story in one of our mines in Australia.
It's a huge thing, and the other thing is, and I just did an episode about this, talking about attracting workers, attracting new employees. Is they want to come into environments, that, the whole, the back-breaking work type thing. If you want to attract good people, you're going to have to. A lot of companies are finding they need to now show that the job is a little more than just grabbing something and dragging it to the next spot. So it's also about retaining and attracting a new workforce, which is a huge. I remember one of my first jobs, which I didn't last that very long, but they said our biggest, ironically, our biggest cost, and this was a very large global company, is hiring. That's our big thing. And so a company like yours sort of making that process simpler is a huge employment retention device, I would imagine.
It is. And that's where I like being part of these conversations, because it's more than just our AI makes people faster. We're changing the lives of these individuals. We're allowing organizations to be innovative, giving them the ability to empower individuals to have a better life, essentially. I don't know how more fluffy to put that, because it is that.
Yep.
People don't want to fly everywhere. Some don't mind it, but a lot of individuals don't want to do that anymore. A lot of individuals don't want to sit on a truck for 2 hours every morning to be driven into a mining operation.
Yeah, I'm one of them. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't do it.
And this allows them to do that. And with the shortage of geologists, I'm going to touch on one other thing, but with the shortage of geologists and with a lot more inexperienced geologists coming in, and this is one thing I didn't mention earlier, but individuals, you're getting a lot of people who aren't as well trained, but also even the best trained geologist will have a different opinion about the same rock than someone else. I didn't bring it up before, so I'll insert it in here. Consistency of results is, I'm pretty sure that's important in the mining industry.
I think so.
And when you have different people doing different things, it's funny, I don't want to laugh about that, but it's such a problem where you have different people doing inconsistent things on the same rock.
Yeah.
This solves that problem. You have AI doing the cataloging and the logging of the results. Obviously, there's the QA portion of it still, but you have that. It's consistent. The computer just does the same thing. And again, right or wrong, training will fix the wrong, and it's a very short-term issue if it even comes up. But the idea is it's consistent, and you can rely on the results, and you can audit them. And that's another thing that's come up where through the geo, and again, I'm jumping back to your question about what does geo do? The auditing capability. Not only do you have consistent results, but a geologist at any point in time, anywhere in the world can look at that and go, "Oh, I'm not 100% sure that was that was logged correctly. It could have been an inexperienced. The AI doesn't matter. Someone can go into it and look, see the history of that, and make a change. And it's all cataloged. And I think that's pretty important. And that applies to whether we have our hardware there, we're doing importing of imagery. It doesn't matter. That's a critical component that is also hard to put a dollar figure on. It's hard to put a dollar figure on.
I will say it's always nice when you're promoting a product and there's enough values there that you start to forget them and you have to circle back and go, oh yeah, I forgot to say this also is a thing. That's a good sign, I'm pretty sure. No, thanks for coming on the show. It's kicking off these events and the technology, seeing you're at an event and people can actually go there and talk to you, see, to your left and right, there's probably technology being displayed. So for us, it's a lot of fun. I'm still in Vancouver getting to do didn't have to travel to do it. So thanks a lot, Jamie. I hope we have KORE Geosystems back on the show because I know it's just the start of what you guys are going to accomplish. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having us, and I look forward to being back.
And thank you, everybody, for watching. There's going to be plenty of links to KORE Geosystems, to their website and their LinkedIn, even Jamie's LinkedIn. You can connect directly with him. Thank you again to CIM for having us at MIMO. Thanks for Rory for setting all the gear up, and Gowdy for running the equipment, and Savanna Equipment for sponsoring our travel to be as part of the heavy industry tour. We will have plenty more episodes coming. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you on the next episode of Mining Now.